When your pantry was empty and your wallet was emptier, you got creative with whatever you had. The Great Depression and hard times throughout American history gave birth to sandwiches that would make today's foodies cringe, but they kept families fed when nothing else would do. These forgotten sandwiches tell the story of American resilience, one slice of bread at a time. Lard and salt sandwich. Lard and salt sandwiches represented the absolute bottom of Depression-era eating, when families had almost nothing but needed calories to survive physical labor. The sandwich became a last resort during the harshest economic times, when even basic ingredients were scarce, but families required energy for work. Smart cooks learned to spread lard thinly while it was soft, then sprinkle just enough salt to add flavor without overwhelming the already rich fat content. The combination provided essential calories and sodium that sustained hard physical work when other protein sources were unavailable or unaffordable. Families would render their own lard from pork fat scraps, ensuring nothing was wasted when every calorie mattered for survival. The addition of salt made plain lard more palatable, while providing minerals that bodies needed during periods of heavy labor and limited nutrition. Children often struggled with lard and salt sandwiches, finding them too rich or overwhelming compared to sweeter alternatives they preferred. Some families would warm the bread slightly, making lard easier to spread, while creating more appealing textures for difficult-to-eat ingredients. The sandwich represented survival eating rather than enjoyable dining. Nutrition focused purely on providing calories needed to continue working and surviving. During the absolute worst Depression years, lard and salt sandwiches kept families alive when other food sources were completely unavailable or beyond financial reach. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The PB&J stands as the king of Depression-era sandwiches, born from necessity but loved by generations. When George Washington Carver promoted peanuts as a cheap protein source and grape jelly became affordable, families discovered magic between two slices of bread. During the 1930s, mothers packed these sandwiches for school lunches because peanut butter provided protein their children desperately needed. The sandwich became so popular that soldiers carried PB&J in their ration kits during World War II. What started as a poor man's meal transformed into an American icon. Even today, the average American child eats 1,500 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before graduating high school. The beauty lies in its simplicity. Just 3 ingredients creating comfort food that transcends social class. While gourmet versions exist today with artisanal breads and organic ingredients, the original PB&J remains unchanged. White bread, generic peanut butter, and grape jelly. This sandwich proves that sometimes the simplest combinations create the most lasting memories. Families who survived the Depression often credit the peanut butter and jelly with keeping them going when meat was scarce and money was scarcer. BLT sandwich. The BLT emerged during the late 1800s, but became a Depression staple when families needed to stretch expensive bacon as far as possible. Smart cooks learned that 3 thin strips of bacon could flavor an entire sandwich when paired with fresh lettuce and ripe tomatoes from backyard gardens. The combination worked because each ingredient played a crucial role. Bacon provided the smoky richness families craved. Lettuce added crunch and freshness, while tomatoes contributed sweet acidity that balanced the salt. During summer months, when tomatoes grew abundant in victory gardens, the BLT became an affordable luxury. Families would save bacon grease throughout the week, using every precious drop to cook their Sunday BLT bacon. The sandwich gained popularity because it felt indulgent, despite using minimal expensive ingredients. Mayo became the preferred spread because it added richness without overwhelming the delicate balance. Restaurant versions often disappointed because home cooks knew the secret: garden-fresh tomatoes and perfectly crisp bacon timing. The BLT taught families that quality mattered more than quantity. Today's gourmet versions with heirloom tomatoes and artisanal bacon honor this Depression-era lesson about making simple ingredients shine. Cheese and onion sandwich. Cheese and onion sandwiches combined two affordable ingredients that created surprising depth of flavor when paired together. The sandwich became popular during the Depression when families needed meals that felt substantial without requiring expensive meat. Smart cooks learned to slice onions thin enough to avoid overwhelming the cheese, while providing the sharp bite that made the sandwich interesting. The combination worked because mild cheese balanced the strong onion flavor, creating harmony that satisfied both taste and hunger. Families would buy blocks of cheese when on sale, slicing it carefully to make it last as long as possible. The addition of raw onion provided crunch and nutrition that plain cheese sandwiches lacked. Children often needed encouragement to eat onion sandwiches, but those who acquired the taste remembered them fondly decades later. Some families would salt their onion slices and let them sit briefly to draw out excess moisture and reduce sharpness. The sandwich traveled reasonably well in lunch pails, though the onion smell could be strong by lunchtime. During particularly lean times, onion and cheese sandwiches provided flavor and satisfaction when families couldn't afford meat. The key was finding the right balance. Enough onion to add interest without making the sandwich too sharp for children to enjoy. Bologna and mustard sandwich. Bologna sandwiches became the working man's reliable lunch during the Depression, when affordable processed meat was essential for family survival. Every slice was carefully portioned between thick slices of bread, with a thin spread of yellow mustard that added flavor without overwhelming the mild bologna. The sandwich gained popularity because bologna was cheap, readily available, and didn't require cooking or special preparation. Families could buy bologna in bulk, using it throughout the week for different meals, while knowing it would keep well in the icebox. Smart mothers would slice bologna thin to make it last longer, teaching children to appreciate every bite. The combination of salty bologna and tangy mustard created satisfaction that plain bread sandwiches couldn't match. Children remember bologna sandwiches as dependable lunches that appeared in their school lunch pails day after day. The sandwich became a symbol of consistency during uncertain times, when families needed meals they could count on. Some families would fry their bologna first, creating crispy edges that added texture and flavor to the sandwich. During particularly lean times, even thin bologna slices were cut in half to stretch further. The sandwich taught children that simple pleasures could bring satisfaction when approached with the right attitude. Today's artisanal bologna honors this Depression-era lesson about finding quality in affordable ingredients. Peanut butter and bacon sandwich. Peanut butter and bacon sandwiches combined affordable protein with rich pork fat to create surprisingly satisfying meals that provided sustained energy for working families. The sandwich became popular because it merged two ingredients families often had available while creating flavors that children actually enjoyed eating. Smart cooks learned to cook bacon until crispy, then spread peanut butter on warm bread so it melted slightly and accepted bacon pieces better. The combination worked because salty bacon complemented sweet peanut butter while adding textural interest that plain PB sandwiches lacked. Families would save bacon from breakfast, using it throughout the day for sandwiches that provided both protein and satisfaction. The addition of crispy bacon transformed simple peanut butter sandwiches into meals that felt more substantial and interesting. Children remember peanut butter and bacon sandwiches as special treats that appeared when families could afford both ingredients simultaneously. Some families would crumble bacon directly into peanut butter jars, creating spreads that could be used quickly for multiple sandwiches. The sandwich traveled reasonably well in lunch pails, though bacon could lose crispness if packed too early in the morning. During the Depression, peanut butter and bacon sandwiches represented affordable luxury, two inexpensive ingredients, creating something that felt indulgent and satisfying. The beauty lay in balance. Sweet peanut butter and salty bacon creating harmony that pleased both children and adults while providing necessary nutrition. Butter and jam sandwich. Butter and jam sandwiches provided sweet satisfaction when families needed affordable treats that children would eat reliably during tough economic times. The sandwich became popular because both ingredients were usually available in most households, requiring minimal expense or special shopping. Smart mothers learned to spread butter first, creating a barrier that prevented jam from making bread soggy, while adding richness that complemented fruit sweetness. The combination of creamy butter and sweet jam created satisfaction that plain bread couldn't match, especially for children who needed encouragement to eat. Families would make their own jam when fruit was available, preserving seasonal abundance for year-round enjoyment in sandwiches. The addition of butter made jam sandwiches more filling and nutritionally balanced while preventing them from being overwhelmingly sweet. Children remember butter and jam sandwiches as comfort food that appeared when mothers wanted to create something special without spending extra money. Some families would use different jam flavors throughout the week, creating variety that kept simple sandwiches interesting for children. The sandwich was perfect for school lunches because it traveled well and didn't require heating or special handling. During the Depression, butter and jam sandwiches represented affordable indulgence when families needed to create happiness and sweetness despite limited resources. The beauty was in simplicity, two common ingredients creating sweet comfort that lifted spirits and satisfied both hunger and the human need for occasional treats. Pimento cheese sandwich. Pimento cheese sandwiches brought Southern comfort to families who needed affordable meals with rich flavor. The spread combined grated cheese, mayonnaise, and chopped pimentos into a mixture that stretched expensive cheese further while creating something special. Smart cooks learned to grate their own cheese rather than buying pre-grated, saving money while ensuring freshness. The sandwich became popular because pimento cheese could be made in batches, stored in the icebox, and used for quick meals throughout the week. Families would buy blocks of sharp cheddar when it went on sale, grating it themselves and mixing it with just enough mayonnaise to bind everything together. The addition of pimentos provided color, sweetness, and a touch of luxury that elevated simple cheese sandwiches. Children remember helping to grate cheese and mix pimento cheese, learning family recipes that varied from household to household. Some families added onion powder, garlic, or hot sauce to their pimento cheese, creating signature flavors that children craved. The sandwich traveled well in lunch pails and didn't require heating, making it perfect for working families. During the Depression, pimento cheese sandwiches represented creativity in the kitchen when mothers needed to make inexpensive ingredients feel special. The beauty lay in its simplicity, just a few ingredients creating something that felt indulgent despite its humble origins. Onion and lard sandwich. Onion and lard sandwiches represented extreme frugality when families had almost nothing but needed to create filling meals from available ingredients. The sandwich became popular during the harshest Depression years, when even affordable ingredients were scarce, but families needed substantial food. Smart cooks learned to slice onions thin and salt them lightly, drawing out moisture while reducing their sharpness for more palatable eating. The addition of lard provided essential calories and richness that made raw onions more appealing, while creating satisfaction that plain vegetables couldn't match. Families would render their own lard from pork fat, ensuring nothing was wasted when meat was precious and expensive. The combination worked because lard's richness balanced onion sharpness while providing calories that sustained energy throughout long working days. Children often struggled with onion and lard sandwiches, but those who grew up during the worst economic times learned to appreciate any available food. Some families would add salt and pepper to their lard, creating more complex flavors that improved the overall sandwich experience. The sandwich was definitely an acquired taste that represented survival eating rather than pleasurable dining. During the absolute worst Depression years, onion and lard sandwiches kept families alive when other options, simply weren't available or affordable. The beauty was in necessity. Two humble ingredients, combining to provide nutrition and calories when nothing else was possible. Ham and cheese sandwich. The ham and cheese sandwich represented luxury during hard times, when families could afford only occasional sliced ham from the deli. Every thin slice was precious, stretched between thick slices of homemade bread with a careful spread of mustard or mayo. Families learned to buy ham bones after holiday meals, using every scrap of meat for sandwiches throughout the following week. The sandwich became special because it signified better times. When families could afford deli meat, they knew their situation was improving. Smart shoppers would wait until closing time at the butcher shop, hoping for discounted ham that needed to be sold quickly. The combination of salty ham and mild cheese created satisfaction that plain bread sandwiches couldn't match. Mothers would often save the best ham slices for their working husbands, knowing they needed protein for physical labor. Children remember ham and cheese sandwiches as birthday treats or rewards for good behavior. The sandwich evolved based on what cheese families could afford, sometimes sharp cheddar, other times mild American, but always carefully portioned. During the Depression, a ham and cheese sandwich in a lunch pail meant your family was doing better than most. This sandwich represented hope and progress during America's darkest economic times. Tuna salad sandwich. Canned tuna became a Depression lifesaver when families needed affordable protein that wouldn't spoil. Smart cooks learned to stretch one can of tuna into multiple sandwiches by adding chopped celery, onions, and plenty of mayonnaise. The key was making the tuna salad filling enough to satisfy hunger while using minimal fish. Families would save celery leaves and onion scraps throughout the week, chopping them fine to add bulk and nutrition to their tuna mixture. The sandwich gained popularity because canned tuna was shelf-stable and always available. Unlike fresh fish that spoiled quickly, mothers experimented with different additions: chopped pickles for tang, hard-boiled eggs for extra protein, or sweet relish for flavor. The best tuna salad sandwiches came from families who understood the importance of proper seasoning, adding just enough salt, pepper, and lemon juice to brighten the mixture. Children often helped make tuna salad, learning to flake the fish carefully and mix ingredients until everything combined perfectly. The sandwich became a staple of school lunches because it traveled well and provided protein children needed. During hot summer days, cold tuna salad sandwiches offered refreshing relief from heavy hot meals. This sandwich taught families that canned goods could create fresh-tasting meals with proper preparation and seasoning. Sugar and cinnamon sandwich. Sugar and cinnamon sandwiches provided sweet comfort when families needed affordable treats that could lift spirits during the darkest economic times. The sandwich became popular because both ingredients were usually available in most households, creating sweetness without expensive candy or desserts. Smart mothers learned to mix sugar and cinnamon before sprinkling, ensuring even distribution that prevented overwhelming sweetness or spice in individual bites. The combination of sweet sugar and warm cinnamon created satisfaction that plain bread couldn't match, especially for children who craved treats during difficult times. Families would use these sandwiches as special rewards or comfort food when emotional support was as important as physical nutrition. The addition of butter underneath the sugar mixture helped ingredients stick to bread while adding richness that made the treat more satisfying. Children remember sugar and cinnamon sandwiches as special occasions that appeared when mothers wanted to create happiness without spending money on store-bought sweets. Some families would lightly toast their bread first, creating texture that held the sweet mixture better while adding warmth that enhanced cinnamon flavor. The sandwich needed to be eaten carefully to prevent spilling the loose sugar mixture, making it a sit-down treat rather than portable lunch. During the Depression, sugar and cinnamon sandwiches represented affordable joy when families needed sweetness to counterbalance the harshness of daily survival. The beauty was in transformation, common pantry ingredients becoming special treats that provided emotional comfort alongside physical satisfaction. Grilled cheese and tomato sandwich. The grilled cheese sandwich saved families during the Depression when processed American cheese became affordable and reliable. Unlike fancy cheeses that spoiled quickly, American cheese slices kept well and melted perfectly every time. Families discovered that grilling the sandwich in a hot pan with butter created a crispy exterior that elevated humble ingredients into something special. The addition of tomato slices turned a simple grilled cheese into a more substantial meal. Smart mothers would slice tomatoes thin so they wouldn't make the bread soggy, learning through trial and error how to achieve the perfect balance. The sandwich became popular because it used ingredients most families could afford: bread, butter, cheese, and tomatoes from the garden. During winter months, families would use canned tomatoes or save the precious fresh ones for special occasions. The key was achieving the perfect golden crust while ensuring the cheese melted completely. Children who grew up during the Depression remember the sizzling sound of butter in the pan and the anticipation of that first perfectly melted bite. This sandwich taught families that simple techniques could transform basic ingredients into comfort food that filled both stomach and soul. Egg salad sandwich. Egg salad sandwiches emerged when families kept chickens and needed ways to use abundant eggs creatively. The sandwich became popular because eggs were often the most reliable protein source families could produce themselves. Smart cooks learned to hard-boil eggs in batches, using them throughout the week for different meals, including sandwiches. The key to perfect egg salad lay in the chopping technique. Some families preferred chunky pieces, while others mashed eggs completely smooth. Mayonnaise bound the mixture together while adding richness that plain hard-boiled eggs lacked. Families would add whatever they had available: chopped celery for crunch, onions for bite, or mustard for tang. During the Depression, egg salad sandwiches represented self-sufficiency because families could create them without visiting the store. Children learned to help by peeling eggs carefully and chopping them to their family's preferred consistency. The sandwich traveled well in lunch pails, making it popular among working men who needed portable protein. Some families added sweet pickles or relish to their egg salad, creating signature flavors that children remembered decades later. The beauty of egg salad sandwiches was their adaptability. Families could modify the recipe based on available ingredients while maintaining the essential protein and satisfaction eggs provided. Chicken salad sandwich. Chicken salad sandwiches represented the ultimate in thriftiness when families needed to use every scrap of leftover chicken. After Sunday dinner, smart cooks would pick the bones clean, chopping any remaining meat for sandwiches throughout the week. The key was stretching small amounts of chicken as far as possible using mayonnaise, chopped celery, and careful seasoning. Families learned that dark meat from thighs and drumsticks actually created more flavorful chicken salad than expensive white meat. During the Depression, chicken salad sandwiches were considered luxurious because they required having chicken in the first place. Mothers would save chicken scraps in the icebox, accumulating enough for sandwiches over several days of meals. The sandwich became special because it transformed leftovers into something that felt fresh and deliberate. Smart cooks added whatever they had available: chopped apples for sweetness, nuts for crunch, or grapes for unexpected flavor. Children remember chicken salad sandwiches as treats that appeared after family gatherings when leftover chicken was abundant. The sandwich taught families that leftovers didn't have to feel like leftovers, with proper preparation and creativity. Today's chicken salad sandwiches in upscale delis honor this Depression-era tradition of making the most of every ingredient while creating something delicious and satisfying. Butter and sugar sandwich. Butter and sugar sandwiches provided quick energy when families needed affordable sweet treats that children would eat reliably during economically challenging times. The sandwich became popular because both ingredients were usually available in most households, while creating sweetness that lifted spirits when life was difficult. Smart mothers learned to spread butter evenly before sprinkling sugar, creating a base that held granules in place while preventing them from falling off during eating. The combination of rich butter and sweet sugar created satisfaction that plain bread couldn't match, especially important for growing children who needed both calories and emotional comfort. Families would use butter and sugar sandwiches as special rewards or comfort food when emotional support was as important as physical nutrition during hard times. The addition of butter made sugar less overwhelming while providing fat that helped sustain energy longer than sugar alone could provide. Children remember butter and sugar sandwiches as treats that appeared when mothers wanted to create special moments without spending money they didn't have. Some families would use brown sugar when available, creating deeper flavors that felt more sophisticated than plain white sugar versions. The sandwich needed to be eaten carefully to prevent spilling loose sugar, making it more of a sit-down treat than portable school lunch. During the Depression, butter and sugar sandwiches represented affordable indulgence when families needed sweetness to balance the harshness of daily survival struggles. The beauty lay in simplicity. Two common ingredients, creating sweet satisfaction that provided both physical energy and emotional comfort during difficult times. Roast beef and mustard sandwich. Roast beef sandwiches represented the pinnacle of luxury during the Depression, when families could rarely afford quality beef. Every thin slice was precious, carefully carved and stretched between thick slices of homemade bread with a careful spread of mustard. The sandwich became special because it signified prosperity. Families who could afford deli roast beef were doing better than their neighbors. Smart shoppers would wait for sales or visit the butcher near closing time, hoping for discounted roast beef that needed quick sale. The combination of rich beef and sharp mustard created satisfaction that lasted hours, making it perfect for working men who needed substantial lunches. Mothers would often buy small amounts of roast beef for special occasions, making each sandwich a celebration. The key was using just enough beef to provide flavor and protein while making it last as long as possible. Sardine and onion sandwich. Sardine and onion sandwiches provided affordable protein when families needed nutritious meals that wouldn't spoil quickly. Canned sardines offered omega-rich nutrition that fresh fish couldn't match for reliability and cost. Smart cooks learned to mash sardines with a fork, mixing them with chopped onions to create a spread that extended the fish while adding flavor. The sandwich became popular because sardines were shelf-stable and always available, unlike fresh seafood that spoiled quickly. Families would drain sardine oil carefully, sometimes saving it for cooking other foods to avoid wasting any nutrition. The addition of raw onion provided crunch and sharp flavor that complemented the rich, salty sardines perfectly. Children often needed encouragement to try sardine sandwiches, but those who developed a taste for them found them deeply satisfying. Some families added lemon juice or vinegar to their sardine mixture, brightening the flavors and reducing any fishy taste. The sandwich didn't travel particularly well due to strong smells, so it was often eaten immediately after preparation. During the Depression, sardine sandwiches represented accessible luxury because they provided rich flavors that plain bread sandwiches couldn't match. The key was proper preparation, mashing sardines thoroughly and balancing them with enough onion to create harmony between all flavors. Turkey and cranberry sandwich. Turkey and cranberry sandwiches emerged from post-Thanksgiving creativity when families needed to use leftover holiday turkey. The sandwich became popular because it transformed holiday leftovers into special meals that extended the celebration throughout the following week. Smart cooks learned to carve turkey carefully, saving every usable piece for sandwiches, soups, and other meals. The addition of cranberry sauce created a perfect sweet-tart balance that elevated simple turkey sandwiches into something memorable. Families would carefully ration their cranberry sauce, using just enough to add flavor without overwhelming the turkey. During the Depression, this sandwich represented abundance because it appeared only after families could afford holiday turkey dinners. Children remember turkey and cranberry sandwiches as bridges between holiday excitement and returning to normal meals. The sandwich taught families that leftovers could become anticipated meals rather than disappointing remnants. Some families added lettuce or celery for crunch, creating their own signature versions of this post-holiday tradition. The key was balancing the rich turkey with the tart cranberry sauce, while ensuring both flavors remained distinct. Mothers would pack these sandwiches for lunch with special care, knowing they represented the continuation of holiday joy. This sandwich proved that creativity and proper seasoning could transform any leftover into something families looked forward to eating. Fried egg and ketchup sandwich. Fried egg sandwiches with ketchup became breakfast for lunch solutions. When families needed protein, they could produce themselves. The sandwich gained popularity because eggs from backyard chickens provided reliable nutrition that families could count on daily. Smart cooks learned to fry eggs with crispy edges while keeping yolks slightly runny, creating texture contrast that made simple sandwiches more interesting. The addition of ketchup provided sweetness and acidity that complemented the rich egg perfectly. Families would save bacon grease throughout the week, using it to fry eggs that carried extra flavor from previous meals. Children remember the sizzling sound of eggs hitting hot grease and the anticipation of perfectly cooked breakfast sandwiches. The sandwich became popular because it could be made any time of day, providing protein when other options weren't available. During the Depression, fried egg sandwiches represented self-sufficiency because families could create them without visiting the store. Some families would add salt and pepper directly to the egg while cooking, ensuring proper seasoning throughout. The key was timing, cooking the egg just enough to set the white, while keeping the yolk creamy enough to enrich the entire sandwich. This sandwich taught families that simple cooking techniques could transform basic ingredients into satisfying meals that felt special despite their everyday nature. Apple and cheese sandwich. Apple and cheese sandwiches combined orchard fruit with dairy protein to create surprisingly satisfying meals during harvest season. The sandwich became popular when families had access to fresh apples, but needed to make them more filling and nutritious. Smart cooks learned to slice apples thin enough to layer evenly, while choosing varieties that wouldn't brown quickly after cutting. The combination worked because sweet apples balanced the saltiness of cheese, while providing crunch and freshness that complemented creamy dairy flavors. Families with apple trees would make these sandwiches throughout fall, using windfalls and imperfect fruit that couldn't be stored long-term. The addition of cheese transformed simple fruit sandwiches into protein-rich meals that sustained energy longer than fruit alone. Children remember apple and cheese sandwiches as special treats that appeared during apple picking season. Some families would add a thin spread of butter or mayonnaise to help bind the ingredients and prevent apple slices from sliding out. The sandwich was best eaten immediately after preparation, before apple slices could brown or release too much moisture. During the Depression, apple and cheese sandwiches represented seasonal abundance, when families could afford both fresh fruit and dairy products. The beauty lay in the contrast: crisp, sweet apples against creamy, salty cheese, creating a combination that felt both healthy and indulgent. Cold bean sandwich. Cold bean sandwiches emerged from necessity when families needed to use leftover beans creatively while providing protein-rich meals. The sandwich became popular because beans were affordable, nutritious, and filling, qualities essential during tough economic times. Smart cooks learned to mash cold beans slightly, creating a spread that stayed between bread slices better than whole beans. The key was seasoning the beans properly while they were still warm, ensuring flavors penetrated throughout before the beans cooled for sandwich use. Families would cook large batches of beans on weekends, using them for multiple meals throughout the following week. The addition of chopped onions, salt, and pepper transformed plain beans into sandwich filling that provided both flavor and nutrition. Children remember cold bean sandwiches as common lunch fare that filled their stomachs when other options weren't available. Some families would add a bit of bacon grease or ham scraps to their beans while cooking, creating richer flavors that improved the sandwich substantially. The sandwich traveled well in lunch pails and didn't require heating, making it practical for working families. During the Depression, cold bean sandwiches represented thriftiness and planning. Families who cooked beans properly could create multiple satisfying meals from one pot. The beauty was in the transformation, humble beans becoming substantial sandwich filling through proper seasoning and preparation. Potato sandwich. Potato sandwiches used leftover mashed or boiled potatoes to create filling meals when families needed to stretch ingredients as far as possible. The sandwich became popular because potatoes were cheap, filling, and could be prepared in advance for quick assembly. Smart cooks learned to season mashed potatoes well while warm, ensuring proper flavor throughout before using them as sandwich filling. The key was achieving the right consistency, thick enough to stay between bread slices, but not so dry that the sandwich became difficult to eat. Families would cook extra potatoes at dinner, saving portions specifically for next-day sandwiches that provided substantial lunches. The addition of salt, pepper, and butter transformed plain potatoes into sandwich filling that satisfied hunger effectively. Children remember potato sandwiches as reliable lunch options that filled their stomachs when money was tight. Some families would add chopped onions or herbs to their potato filling, creating more complex flavors that elevated simple ingredients. The sandwich was essentially a carbohydrate-heavy meal that provided energy for physical labor or active children. During the Depression, potato sandwiches represented making the most of every ingredient. Nothing was wasted when families struggled to put food on the table. The beauty lay in transformation, common potatoes becoming sandwich filling that sustained families through difficult times while providing comfort and satisfaction. Syrup and butter sandwich. Syrup and butter sandwiches provided quick energy when families needed sweet treats they could afford on minimal budgets. The sandwich became popular because both ingredients were usually available in most households, requiring no special shopping or preparation. Smart mothers learned to spread butter evenly before adding syrup, creating a barrier that prevented bread from becoming too soggy. The combination of rich butter and sweet syrup created satisfaction that plain bread couldn't match, especially for children who crave sweets. Families would use whatever syrup they had available: maple when they could afford it, corn syrup more commonly, or even molasses for deeper flavor. The addition of butter made the sandwich more filling and satisfying than syrup alone, while preventing it from being overwhelmingly sweet. Children remember syrup and butter sandwiches as special treats that appeared when mothers wanted to create something sweet without spending money on candy. Some families would lightly toast their bread first, creating texture that held up better against the moist filling. The sandwich needed to be eaten quickly before syrup soaked through the bread completely, making it a sit-down treat rather than portable lunch. During the Depression, syrup and butter sandwiches represented affordable indulgence when families needed to create happiness without spending money they didn't have. The beauty was in simplicity. Two common ingredients creating sweet satisfaction that lifted spirits during difficult times. Gravy sandwich. Gravy sandwiches used leftover breakfast or dinner gravy to create substantial meals that satisfied hunger when families needed filling food on tight budgets. The sandwich became popular because gravy provided rich flavors and calories that plain bread couldn't match while using ingredients already prepared for other meals. Smart cooks learned to make extra gravy specifically for sandwich use, thickening it slightly more than usual so it wouldn't soak through bread completely. The key was proper seasoning. Gravy needed enough salt, pepper, and fat to create satisfaction when used as sandwich filling rather than sauce. Families would save bacon grease, sausage drippings, and other fats throughout the week, using them to make gravies that became sandwich filling. The addition of flour and milk transformed simple drippings into substantial sandwich filling that provided protein and calories working families needed. Children remember gravy sandwiches as hearty breakfasts or lunches that filled their stomachs effectively during cold weather. Some families would add bits of leftover meat to their gravy, creating more complex sandwiches that approached complete meals. The sandwich was best eaten immediately, while gravy remained warm and hadn't soaked through bread completely. During the Depression, gravy sandwiches represented maximizing every ingredient. Even meat drippings became substantial meals with proper preparation. The beauty lay in transformation. Simple pan drippings becoming sandwich filling that satisfied both hunger and taste. Fried egg and pepper sandwich. Fried egg and pepper sandwiches added spice to protein-rich meals when families needed substantial food that provided lasting energy for working days. The sandwich became popular because eggs were often available from backyard chickens, while peppers added nutrition and flavor without significant cost. Smart cooks learned to crack pepper directly onto eggs while cooking, ensuring even distribution of heat and spice throughout the protein. The combination worked because rich eggs provided satisfaction, while pepper added interest that made simple sandwiches more appealing. Families would save pepper carefully during lean times, using just enough to flavor food without wasting this relatively expensive spice. The addition of black pepper enhanced egg flavor while providing the sharp bite that made plain egg sandwiches more interesting and adult-friendly. Children often needed to develop a taste for peppered eggs, but those who did found them more satisfying than plain versions. Some families would add salt along with pepper, creating proper seasoning that elevated humble ingredients into more appealing meals. The sandwich provided substantial protein that sustained energy longer than carbohydrate-heavy alternatives that many families relied upon. During the Depression, fried egg and pepper sandwiches represented making the most of available ingredients while creating flavors that satisfied adult palates. The beauty lay in enhancement. Simple pepper transforming basic eggs into sandwiches that felt more sophisticated and satisfying than their humble ingredients might suggest. Sardine and mustard sandwich. Sardine and mustard sandwiches combined affordable canned protein with sharp condiments to create satisfying meals that provided essential nutrition during economic hardship. The sandwich became popular because sardines offered reliable protein and healthy fats, while mustard added flavor that made the fish more appealing. Smart cooks learned to drain sardines well and mash them with mustard, creating spreads that distributed evenly across across bread, while balancing fish richness with tangy sharpness. The combination worked because mustard cut through sardine richness, while adding the sharp bite that made simple fish sandwiches more interesting and palatable. Families would buy sardines in bulk when on sale, storing them for quick, protein-rich meals that required no cooking or refrigeration. The addition of mustard transformed plain sardine sandwiches into meals that satisfied adult palates, while providing nutrition that growing children needed. Some families preferred yellow mustard for milder flavor, while others used spicy brown mustard for more complex taste that elevated the simple sandwich. Children often needed encouragement to try sardine sandwiches, but those who developed appreciation found them deeply satisfying and filling. The sandwich traveled reasonably well in lunch pails, though strong smells could be noticeable by lunchtime in warm weather. During the Depression, sardine and mustard sandwiches represented accessible nutrition when fresh fish was expensive and unreliable, while canned options provided consistent protein families could count on. The beauty lay in balance, rich sardines and sharp mustard creating harmony that satisfied both nutritional needs and taste preferences. Raw onion sandwich. Raw onion sandwiches represented extreme simplicity when families had almost no ingredients, but needed something to make plain bread more filling and flavorful. The sandwich became popular among those who appreciated strong flavors and needed vegetables that were available and affordable year-round. Smart cooks learned to slice onions thin and salt them lightly, drawing out some moisture while reducing their sharpness to make them more palatable for regular eating. The combination provided vitamins and minerals that plain bread lacked, while adding flavor that made meals more interesting despite their simplicity. Families would buy onions in bulk when possible, storing them in cool, dry places where they kept well without refrigeration. The addition of salt helped make raw onions less harsh, while drawing out natural flavors that complemented rather than overwhelmed simple bread. Children often struggled with raw onion sandwiches, finding them too strong for young palates that preferred milder flavors. Some families would soak onion slices in cold water briefly, reducing their bite while maintaining crunch and nutrition that made sandwiches more substantial. The sandwich was definitely an acquired taste that represented practical eating rather than pleasurable dining during extremely lean times. During the worst Depression years, raw onion sandwiches provided necessary nutrition when other vegetables were expensive or unavailable to struggling families. The beauty was in necessity. Even strong flavored vegetables could provide essential vitamins and minerals when prepared thoughtfully and eaten with appreciation for available nutrition. Cold hot dog slices and ketchup sandwich. Cold hot dog slices and ketchup sandwiches used leftover frankfurters to create portable meals when families needed to stretch expensive meat products as far as possible. The sandwich became popular because hot dogs were more affordable than other meat options, while providing protein that satisfied hunger effectively. Smart cooks learned to slice hot dogs thin, making small amounts of meat cover entire sandwiches, while creating visual appeal that made meals seem more substantial. The combination worked because ketchup's sweetness complemented the salty, smoky hot dog flavors, while adding moisture that made cold meat more appealing. Families would buy hot dogs when on sale, using them for multiple meals throughout the week rather than consuming them all at once. The addition of ketchup transformed plain cold meat into sandwiches that children actually enjoyed eating, making meal planning easier for struggling mothers. Some families would dice hot dogs very fine, creating spreads that distributed protein more evenly across bread slices, while making small amounts seem more abundant. Children remember cold, hot dog sandwiches as reliable lunch options that provided familiar flavors, even when served at room temperature. The sandwich traveled well in lunch pails and didn't require heating, making it practical for school lunches and working men's meals. Mashed potato sandwich. Mashed potato sandwiches used leftover dinner potatoes to create filling meals that provided substantial carbohydrates when families needed energy for physical work. The sandwich became popular because mashed potatoes were filling, cheap, and could be prepared in advance for quick meal assembly throughout busy days. Smart cooks learned to season mashed potatoes well while warm, ensuring proper salt and butter distribution that created flavor throughout the filling before it cooled. The key was achieving proper consistency, thick enough to stay between bread slices, but creamy enough to spread easily and eat comfortably. Families would deliberately make extra mashed potatoes at dinner, planning for next-day sandwiches that provided substantial lunches without additional cooking time. The addition of butter and milk made plain potatoes more appealing while providing fats that helped sustain energy longer than starch alone. Children remember mashed potato sandwiches as comfort food that filled their stomachs effectively during cold weather when hot meals weren't available. Some families would add leftover gravy to their potato filling, creating richer flavors that elevated simple ingredients into more satisfying combinations. The sandwich was essentially comfort food between bread slices, providing emotional satisfaction alongside physical nutrition during difficult times. During the Depression, mashed potato sandwiches represented making the most of every ingredient while ensuring no food was wasted when resources were scarce. The beauty lay in transformation, common dinner leftovers becoming substantial lunch meals that sustained families through long working days. Canned sardine and mayo sandwich. Canned sardine and mayo sandwiches combined affordable protein with creamy condiments to create satisfying meals that provided essential nutrition during economically challenging times. The sandwich became popular because sardines offered reliable protein and healthy omega fats, while mayonnaise added richness that made fish more appealing to reluctant eaters. Smart cooks learn to drain sardines thoroughly and mash them with mayonnaise, creating smooth spreads that distributed evenly across bread, while balancing fish intensity with creamy mildness. The combination worked because mayonnaise mellowed sardine flavors while adding calories and richness that made simple fish sandwiches more filling and satisfying. Families would buy sardines in bulk during sales, storing them in pantries where they remained stable without refrigeration until needed for quick meals. The addition of mayonnaise transformed plain sardine sandwiches into creamy, rich meals that appeal to children who might otherwise reject fish entirely. Some families would add chopped onions or celery to their sardine mixture, creating more complex textures and flavors that elevated simple ingredients. Children often preferred sardine and mayo combinations over plain sardines because the creamy texture was more familiar and appealing than straight fish. The sandwich traveled well in lunch pails and provided sustained energy that kept workers and students satisfied through long days. During the Depression, sardine and mayo sandwiches represented accessible luxury when families needed protein-rich meals that felt indulgent despite their affordable ingredients. The beauty lay in balance. Strong fish flavors, mellowed by creamy mayonnaise, creating harmony that satisfied both nutritional needs and taste preferences. Apple and mayo sandwich. Apple and mayo sandwiches combined fresh fruit with creamy condiments to create surprisingly satisfying meals when families had access to seasonal produce but needed to make it more filling. The sandwich became popular during apple season when fruit was abundant, but families needed to transform it into substantial meals rather than simple snacks. Smart cooks learned to slice apples thin and pat them dry, preventing excess moisture from making mayonnaise separate or bread become soggy during assembly. The combination worked because sweet apples balanced mayonnaise richness while providing fresh flavors and crunch that made unusual sandwiches more appealing than expected. Families with apple trees would make these sandwiches throughout fall harvest, using abundant fruit in creative ways that provided nutrition beyond simple fresh eating. The addition of mayonnaise transformed plain apple sandwiches into protein-enhanced meals that sustained energy longer than fruit alone could provide. Children remember apple and mayo sandwiches as unusual, but surprisingly pleasant combinations that appeared when mothers experimented with available ingredients. Some families would add a sprinkle of salt or pepper to their apple and mayo combinations, creating more complex flavors that elevated simple ingredients. Potted meat and pickle sandwich. Potted meat and pickle sandwiches used affordable canned protein with tangy vegetables to create satisfying meals that provided nutrition when fresh meat was expensive or unavailable. The sandwich became popular because potted meat was shelf-stable and affordable, while pickles added crunch and flavor that made processed meat more appealing. Smart cooks learned to mash potted meat slightly with a fork, creating spreads that distributed evenly across bread, while incorporating pickle flavors throughout the mixture. The combination worked because tangy pickles cut through rich potted meat while adding texture and brightness that elevated simple canned ingredients into more interesting meals. Families would buy potted meat in bulk when on sale, storing it in pantries, where it remained stable without refrigeration until needed for quick meals. The addition of pickles transformed plain potted meat sandwiches into more complex combinations that satisfied both taste and texture preferences that plain meat couldn't match. Children often preferred potted meat with pickles over plain versions because the familiar pickle flavors made unusual canned meat more acceptable and appealing. Some families would chop pickles fine and mix them directly into potted meat, creating unified spreads that combined all flavors in every bite. The sandwich traveled well in lunch pails and provided protein that sustained energy through long working days or school hours effectively. During the Depression, potted meat and pickle sandwiches represented accessible protein when families needed affordable nutrition that didn't require cooking or special preparation. The beauty lay in enhancement. Simple pickles, transforming processed meat into more appealing combinations that satisfied both nutritional needs and taste preferences. Spaghetti sandwich. Spaghetti sandwiches used leftover pasta to create carbohydrate-rich meals when families needed filling food that would sustain energy through long working days. The sandwich became popular because pasta was cheap, filling, and could be prepared in large batches that provided multiple meals throughout the week. Smart cooks learned to drain leftover spaghetti well and chop it into manageable lengths that fit between bread slices, without creating messy, difficult-to-eat combinations. The key was using pasta that still had sauce or seasoning, ensuring flavor throughout the sandwich, rather than plain, bland noodles that wouldn't satisfy taste or appetite. Families would deliberately cook extra spaghetti at dinner, planning for next-day sandwiches that provided substantial lunches without additional cooking time or expense. The addition of whatever sauce remained on the pasta created flavors that made unusual sandwiches more appealing than plain carbohydrates alone could provide. Children remember spaghetti sandwiches as filling meals that appeared when mothers needed to use every bit of food, rather than wasting precious leftovers. Some families would add a bit of butter or oil to leftover spaghetti, preventing it from becoming too dry while creating richer flavors for sandwich use. The sandwich was definitely comfort food that represented making the most of every ingredient when waste wasn't affordable for struggling families. During the Depression, spaghetti sandwiches proved that any leftover could become a meal with creativity and proper preparation techniques. The beauty lay in resourcefulness, transforming dinner leftovers into substantial lunch meals that provided necessary carbohydrates and calories for sustained energy. Cornbread and molasses sandwich. Cornbread and molasses sandwiches combined homemade bread with sweet syrup to create filling meals that provided sustained energy when families needed substantial food on minimal budgets. The sandwich became popular because cornbread was cheaper to make than wheat bread, while molasses added sweetness and nutrition that plain bread couldn't match. Smart cooks learned to slice cornbread carefully to prevent crumbling, while spreading molasses evenly to ensure flavor throughout each bite, without creating overly messy combinations. The combination worked because cornbread's slightly savory flavor balanced molasses' sweetness, while creating substantial sandwiches that satisfied hunger effectively throughout long working days. Families would bake cornbread in large batches, using it for multiple meals throughout the week, while ensuring every crumb was used rather than wasted. The addition of molasses transformed plain cornbread into sweet, energy-rich meals that appealed to children while providing calories that adults needed for physical labor. Some families would warm their cornbread slightly, making it easier to spread molasses, while creating more appealing textures that enhance the overall eating experience. Relish and cheese sandwich. Relish and cheese sandwiches combine tangy preserved vegetables with dairy protein to create flavorful meals when families needed to make simple ingredients more interesting and appealing. The sandwich became popular because both ingredients were often available in most households, while creating combinations that satisfied both taste and hunger effectively. Smart cooks learned to drain relish slightly before assembly, preventing excess moisture from making cheese slide off bread or creating soggy, difficult-to-eat combinations. The combination worked because tangy relish cut through rich cheese while adding texture and bright flavors that elevated simple dairy products into more complex and satisfying meals. Families would buy relish in bulk when possible, using it to add flavor to multiple meals throughout the week when other ingredients weren't available or affordable. The addition of cheese transformed plain relish sandwiches into more substantial meals that provided protein, alongside the vegetables and vinegar flavors that relish contributed. Children remember relish and cheese sandwiches as unusual but appealing combinations that appeared when mothers wanted to create interesting flavors without spending extra money. Some families would use different types of relish: sweet, dill, or mixed vegetable, creating variety that kept simple sandwiches interesting throughout the week. The sandwich traveled well in lunch pails and didn't require heating, making it practical for school lunches and working men's portable meals. During the Depression, relish and cheese sandwiches represented making the most of pantry staples, while creating meals that satisfied both nutritional needs and desire for interesting flavors. The beauty lay in balance: tangy relish and rich cheese creating harmony that pleased taste buds, while providing necessary nutrition during challenging economic times.